In terms of our agenda and kind of where we're heading, this morning we set the scene with kura. We had a kōrero with our whānau, Hami and others, Linnell, about the legal framework. We also talked about ngā raru ki o te kitai, just how challenging this space is, eh? This is not a simple and easy space. And then to hear our young legal beagles talk about solutions and ways forward, I think, it gives us hope. Because in these times, not just the worst of times, but when the Crown is challenging some basic assumptions that we have, we need to give each other hope. We need to congregate. We need to come together like this. So part of our hope story has to also be what do examples of excellence look like? So right now we've got the Taiao Panel. We're going to listen to the amazing Tina Porou and Sheridan Waitai, who I know all of you know who they are. They're rock stars. They are rock stars in this world. But they're going to talk about kaupapa and solutions that they have built over time and kind of examples of how we come together. We build our resilience. Yeah, a little bit of crowdfunding helps, but as we all know, that stuff's never ever forever. It's only ever temporary. So the real issue is, how do we drive and create sustainable solutions? So without further ado, anei nā mātanga o nā wahine tō te ao Māori, ho mai te pakipaki, o Tina and Sheridan.
E hika mā tēnā koutou, kia ora whānau. Ko tēnā Porou tōku ingoa, he uri ahau no Ngāti Porou, Ngāti Tūwhare Toa, Ngai Tā Manuhiri, me Ngāti Rā Kaipaka, he fruit salad ahau. It is lovely to be with you all today. And I think I was saying to Sheridan, when we were asked to do this together, she came to Tūrangi for a visit, and afterwards she said, I firmly understand why my surname is Waitai, and so I am the kiuta, and she is the kitai. So it's nice to be here today with you all. This is a very timely opportunity to talk to you all about what we're seeing. I'm in a tiny little lane, and I want to acknowledge and respectfully acknowledge all the whānau who are in the waters, who are in the seas, doing all the mahi on the ground for us at home in those places. I am in a tiny lane around policy and legislation. I am what Leo would call in the soft law, otherwise known as bush law, and I hang out with some of the best lawyers there are, so I'm very fortunate in that space. But my space is small, and reflecting on seeing all of our whānau participating so strongly across the country in kura Taiao and kura reo Taiao, and seeing the consistent and continued wave of re-indigenisation and the revival again of mātauranga has been a very important space. And so when the coalition government came in, I tried not to get triggered. I hear all the time, it's just a phase. They're just the government, comes and goes, and I've really tried to lean into that kōrero, but I have PTSD. And it is not that easy to continue to do that when you are in the rooms, faced with the people telling you why you shouldn't exist, and continuing to be rational, continuing to be a technical expert, when really you just want to rip out throats. And I know that's the wrong whakaaro. And I know that, but it is difficult for some of us who are at the face of policy and legislation change, struggling to maintain our own mana, to respect our own whakapapa and our teachings that have come from our hapu and whānau. So when all of that happened, I went through the stages of grief. Anger, haven't left there. Denial. I am definitely not at acceptance. But what I would say is I had to come up with a plan for myself personally about what I could do, because even with the varied and multiple calls for kotahitanga is difficult. And I am in a space where we have to do things that are universally appropriate for everybody, which means they are individually appropriate for no one. And I've had to kind of consistently ask, and not just in this phase of government, but for the last 15, and there was a very helpful wahine from Ngāi Tahu, Sandra Cook, when we were designing Te Mano Te Wai in the National Policy Statement for Fresh Water, and I said, we haven't even gone out to our people on this. We are using Māori concepts and mātauranga in legislation that will probably be appropriated by others. How do we even decide on this without that space? And she said, you've just got to use the auntie test. Could you get this through your auntie on the marae? Because we are in a narrow time frame to get things to another phase. So today I just wanted to briefly go over, this was my personal commitment. Y262 for me has been a reflection of mana motuhake and the ability to protect and use what is ours. And all of that mātauranga comes from Taiao and our whakapapa. And so if we cannot protect te Taiao, then it is academic to discuss how you consider intellectual property. And so as we go through this phase, I feel like Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I will try to be hopeful. My PTSD coming out. But just some of the things that I had to consider around what I could do personally in this phase of specific and targeted attacks on the well-being of our Taiao in both policy and ledge. And everyone's getting smashed. I get it. This is my tiny lane. Firstly, Dale Takitimu, who I adore, her kōrero is always on point, but she talks about smashing colonial fictions, making sure that we are the expert, we understand te tiriti better than the colonisers, we have to be the single source of truth. The other thing is don't let them divide and conquer us. We can have dirty undies whānau, just don't air them. Debate is who we are. Debate and kōrero is in our DNA, but choose the spaces for that and have those spaces be safe for us. Make a plan, deliver the plan. We are awesome at mobilisation, we are not so great at organisation, and that is why you need lots of layers to achieve our outcomes. Amplification of te reo mātauranga, we are seeing that in every hapu, in every marae, in every kura. It is a tidal wave that no one can stop. We have gone too far to go back. The legal work stream, and I really want to briefly but really carefully acknowledge the lawyers who are doing the hard yards in this space. They are doing it often without funding, and they are doing it in an increasingly marginalised system that is taking away the tools that they usually work with. And so my bro, Horiana Uwan East Hope, can't be here today because she's in the tribunal on the Mecca. People like Natalie Coates, they are just out there trying to hold back this tide, and we will never see them. So I just want to acknowledge them. Comms and social media, crucial. Even if you don't like it, it is an important tool in the indoctrination, not only of our own tamariki, but of their tamariki as well. Know your audiences, make sure you're out there. I have also committed to, which is really challenging for me, but it's one of my commitments, is that I would demystify Te Mano o Te Wai as a policy to non-Māori, which has put me in spaces where I really struggle, and this government has emboldened the racists to feel that they are comfortable to come and talk to me about stuff. And man, if I last, Horiana and Maya said to me, our goal is for me not to get arrested by the end of the term, and I am hoping we can do that. But clearly we won't be, because activism and civil disobedience is important in a way it never has been so stark in the Taiao space before. When you see things like yesterday, the Fast Track Bill changes, the Fast Track Bill offers no legal and no policy solutions to protect your taonga in your rohe currently. None. It is tokenistic, and it is even worse than consultation. So you would have no choice to protect your maunga, to protect your moana, and protect your awa. If you were saying it in your pepeha, but you are not standing there protecting those taonga, then you are a Facebook warrior. And so, but I was told, and a really good advice from Mike Smith, who said, the way in which we activate ourselves are different to how they did. And so we have to keep our babies safe, and we have to do this in a way where we're protecting ourselves and our wairua as well. And finally, we have to be the font of high quality technical analysis in my lane where I'm from. We have to be the best. We have to be better than their policy analysts. We have to be better than their lawyers. And we are. We are managing both those worlds concurrently, and they are only doing it in one, and they are mediocre. So remember that this is the spaces that we have to participate. And I wanted to end on a higher note. I'm going to pull myself back out of the spiral. This is a slide we use in our wānanga across the country. And largely this was built out of me feeling that I wasn't enough and trying to figure out how I would operate in wānanga like this with mātauranga and cultural experts, of which I was not one. And so as we were going around the country, I was thinking, well, what were our superpowers? And so Te Hira Puao, which was our rangatahi wānanga that we established last year, 200 rangatahi turned up. And one of the things that we were really keen on making sure people understood was that whakapapa was the golden ticket to participate. Everything else was a bonus. To include everybody so no one felt excluded from their obligations through their whakapapa to te taiao. And so this has been really successful, and I think it's triggered in a lot of spaces for a lot of whānau who felt like, oh, I didn't have an environmental degree, or I wasn't a legal expert, or I wasn't a practitioner, in hunting and fishing. But then everyone could see themselves. I like to think I'm a hustler, because you always need the hustlers. And I'd go just briefly, because one of the other, inspirations for this, so that everyone can see themselves, is you don't need to be all of these lanes at once, right? You can be one or two of these, and to be fair, those of us who want to be all of them, we're tired. So we need to just focus sometimes. But I'll go to the singers and the composers and the creators and the artists, because I think that's a really apt description for today. About 8 years ago, we had the Iwi Cheers Forum here at Te Papa, hosted by Rongo Whakaata, and Rob Ruha was our keynote entertainment at that hui. And I remember he challenged those leaders that day to say, if you were making decisions without the minds that move beyond the squares and see and feel whakapapa in the past, the present, and the future all at once, and are creating rather than responding, then you will never come up with solutions that will achieve what we expect them to do for the incoming generations. And so that is why whenever we have a wānanga, they are the core of who we invite, because their relationship with te taiao is one of the most intimate. Them and the hunters and the fishers and the growers. So I just wanted to end there. I'm sure you're thinking, what's that got to do with Y262? But I didn't know how to articulate what was present for me, which is currently, what am I going to do? So challenging you to go, what is your personal plan for the next 3 years? And how will you make it happen? And 2, who are the people you need to achieve that? And so thank you very much for the opportunity to kōrero with you today. And it's nice to be able to hand it over to a practitioner who I really respect, Sheridan. So kia ora.
Kia ora tātou, ko Sheridan Waitai tōku ingoa. No Ngāti Kuri ahau, ko Ngāti Kuri te kaitiaki o te wāhi o te rerenga wairua. Ko Ngāti Kuri ahau. Kia ora, ko Sawan. High five me, my sister. So the two of us were just in the corner there 2 minutes before getting up here, just rocking, because we are exhausted and we are tired. And yeah, whānau, just putting the karanga out there for every single one of us to step up, eh? Yeah. There is room in this claim for everybody, believe you me. So what have I got up here to talk to? So those of you who don't know, where's that little pen thing? It wasn't one? Oh yeah, there's a light there. Yay, awesome. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Te Ara Whānui in the first instance for Ngāti Kuri. So our rohe starts about here, goes up around Rangitahua, around Manawatawhi and comes back in. The waka on the whenua is us doing our own research. Te Ara Whānui is Y262 in action. It's our mana motu hake, it's our reimagination of ourselves. The waka is about giving back to the whenua. Because those of you who don't know, land is a privilege, it's not a right. And you know, e ngā wana a hine moana ki te whenua, and that is what we're living in today. So anyway, that's us, that's in the space. For those of you who know Te Ara Whānui and the brief of evidence for Y262, it's actually about a living vibration of many, many things that intersect, that create our world. It's more of the unspoken than it is the spoken. It's just present and sitting within us, and our unique ability to hear our own DNA in the wind. And so that, hang on, brings me to the next slide that I don't know how to change. Is it a touch screen or some? Oh, that big green button. That one. I thought you said I was a practitioner. So our big vision up home for that big, large geographical area is whakaniko anō ai te whenua tapu. And that isn't about just the land, because everything for us is contiguous. Land and sea is one and the same. And we expect that we will be adorning this place again. Everything we do are manifestations of Y262. So you're doing it. We're doing it. We're all manifestations of it. Te Ara Whānui Research Centre for us was a massive cornerstone and again was the manifestation of Y262, but it enabled us to do our own research on our own whakapapa. I'm going to talk about this really hideous looking map on the top of our rohe, just quickly. And in your little packs, you would have this little tuku box. Yeah. The only other people in this room that have one of these is Ngāti Wai. So I just want to acknowledge Ngāti Wai today, who are the sisters to our pupu kōrari, our pupu harakeke, and our pupu whakarongo taua. This is a map of everybody else's research on our whenua about our pupu. Our pupu was the first, taonga that Ngāti Kuri put into our claim, eh? It is essentially who we are, and it is our kaitiaki. And often people will say, who are your kaitiaki? Who are your kaitiaki? Well, this is ours. There is less than 1,000 of them left, over around 28 sites, and some on 2 of our islands. There are around 300 breeders. And we've had a whole lot of care and no responsibility, quite frankly. I only know these sites because I rode on horseback with them with my nanny. So when Uncle Selwyn talks about ka pūtiruha kahau, yeah, you got to know where those snails are, and the fishes, and the everything. A whole lot of people mapped our land, even though we knew where they were. But over time, and over repeatedly trying to access our land and protect our taonga, we are down to these numbers, but we are on the brink of extinction. So I know I'm my nanny's hope. Are you your nanny's hope? Yeah. So we've spent a significant amount of time looking at 6 key priority sites, relocations, breeding programs, predator trapping, creating ecosystems that these pupu can live in 20 years' time to 100 years' time. And this is just one taonga that I can imagine of many, like Ngutu Kaka. I'm coming to that celebration too, Uncle. Yeah, those beautiful taonga. Yeah. So what's really, really special about this pupu is that we live in a time of science and technology where even our mātauranga can take us to this really cool point, but when we layer it with science and research, we're able to look at how might we, and pretty much with our breeding program, we might get another 60 to 100 years. Hence the reason why our mokopuna are our hope, because we might not be able to find solutions in the day and age that we're in. But we'll get it for now. I just want to share why we put up the water there before, is because in this location where you see pupu, you'll also find pupu kauri. So in Te Ara Whānui, the pupu kauri climbs the kauri and calls the north wind. And it's the pupu kōrari and the pupu, same one, harakeke, that takes that call and hears it. And karangatu ki te pupu tere tere. So the ocean starts to move. The north wind starts to come. So for Ngāti Kuri, who comes next? The kuaka. And who arrives? Our tupuna. So if we don't have this, will everybody else come down to us? Tina said we had to actually talk about hope. And I'm really saying, I hope that from today, you will realise that you're all manifestations of the Y262. Everything you touch, you are all our hope. The 4th gen, Justice held the pen on this. This is our hope. One last tree in the whole world living out on the island, female. It's been culturally appropriated. It's been monetised, it's been tāhai, and the next generation have developed a whole plan on how to repatriate, how to restore, and how to use the sui generis framework, well, how to test it as the opportunity on how we can protect and grow taonga into the future. You got that, eh? Anyway, bit all over the place, but I'm going to leave it at this. What we are doing is protecting our way of life as whānau daily. And everything that we do, we need to protect. We also need to look at how might ourselves monetize our situations if we feel comfortable with that. And I challenge you to explore that. In our lives, our mokopuna are getting further and further away from our whenua, might have reo Māori, and that's awesome, but kei hea te tikanga. Where's the connections to our taiao? And so again, I challenge you again today, it's a bit more than your pepeha to say your maunga, but you don't know it. And you don't drink from your awa. So in this space of what we're protecting, we can celebrate because of people like Hori Parata and Matuarahi who uplifted and maintained the tikanga of our tohoraha. right back in Ngāti Koata time when we had to go to all those wānanga on our whales, and the ongoing learning and sharing. I just want to acknowledge that it is alive and well in Ngāti Kuri today because of that. And Hori, it's so awesome to see you. Right about this time, Tina talks about practice. Research is a real cool enabler. Reach out to those that are in research, don't over-inundate Aroha, sorry Aroha. But it's an excellent vehicle, eh? And for us, it's given us the ability to pull together all our own research over our tohoraha across the Pacific and down to Rangitahua and down to us. It allows our teams 3 months of the year out voyaging, out monitoring, so we're intimately knowing our taonga. So everybody has a lane. Yeah, everybody has a lane, but don't underestimate those ones at the back that are listening and pulling it all together. So over the next wee while, I just challenge you to have a think about some of the stuff Tina and I have both said. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah. This is really hard to make, by the way, but please give it a go. Kia ora. Stay there.
It's really hard to listen to someone like Tina and Sheridan and not speak in superhero terms, because they are superheroes. And as much as you guys get smoked when you go out and you whawhai on our behalf, that's actually where we source a lot of hope, because we see how clever and how awesome our superheroes are. And so thank you for giving us hope by telling us about how hard it is. And I've made them stay up here just to check if anyone has any pātai. If not, I'll let you go. Kia ora, wahine mā.